right, so a lot of things have made an update today, and of course not all of this we were expecting. If you guys saw my video yesterday, you'll know that design is apparently going back to DSG after things with the TSM trial didn't go according to plan. But what's happening with TSM and what's the latest on those guys? Well, a good bit to dive into and discuss in this one, and then also some rule changes as well. So if you guys want to stay up to date, like and subscribe. Firstly, Dark Zero, of course, the super team that everybody's been griping about and talking about, cheering on, praising, and then also being upset with at the same time. With Dark Zero, that's Hal, that's Zero, that's Jin Burton. First place, finally, after all those scrims. You know, they did pretty good. They got a second in there. They got a third in there. But then they struggled on the first test trial of the new, snake draft thing that was going on. And then we had yesterday, I don't think we saw them play. And then today, or actually yesterday, the day before they didn't play, but then yesterday they played and things looked pretty solid. Dark Zero was a scary team. First place for them. Furia inside of second place. Space Station Gaming is another super team, if you will, in third place. XZ in fourth place. GG in fifth place. Tripods in sixth. Complexity in seventh. LG in eighth. Oxygen in ninth. And Cloud9 in 10th. EC in 11th. TSM in 12th. And that's important because obviously we're going to talk about TSM in just a second. Stallions in 13th. Native in 14th. Ape Gang in 15th. Yup in 16th. Liquid Alienware in 17th. Honestly, a little lackluster from those guys. I think we all love Team Legacy. We know how capable they are. I love that they're, they've been playing with each other for quite some time. But 17th, obviously, not the craziest thing from them. And then Weave in 18th, SKD Mark in 19th, which we'll discuss as well. And then Vanity in 20th. So let's dive into some of these changes that we saw. Number one, we saw TSM playing with Zaptoh from E8, M&K, which was Reps, and Verhulst on this roster as well. Now, from what I've heard, obviously Zap is a very good controller player and has been so on the E8 squad as well. Verhulst, one of those also. But Reps was apparently the IGL here, or attempting to IGL. And this is not a role that he has played in honestly quite some time. Maybe he does it in his ranked time when he's playing with friends and such. But obviously Reps has been around the best IGL in the game, arguably for the last years and years since the game came out, of course. But we know it's probably going to be somewhere deep down in there. Reps just got so much experience with Hal. So I know Reps could probably do it, and I can't wait to see what TSM becomes after time putting into this. But Zap was playing with this roster for now. Of course, E8 has been trying all sorts of stuff. And, some players also, you can never look too far into scrims. Some players, they come in to play and sub for teams sometimes just because they want to stay active. But we know E8 was trying Noct, and we'll see what E8, decides to do. And we'll see what TSM decides to do. But of course, this one was becoming after design was no longer going to go back to TSM or go and try to play with TSM, but he's going to go back to DSG moving forward here as well. Well, just minutes after recording that, we do have an update here. It was not just subbing. It actually is trialing. According to Verhulst over on his YouTube, he said he was playing scrims and trialing Zaptoh and Talmadge as a coach. Obviously, Raven seems to be parting ways with TSM and going on into a new direction. We thought he might, travel with Hal over to Dark Zero. Maybe they have a double coach session going on. Who knows what's going to happen there? But looks like Talmadge might be going along with Zap from E8 over to the TSM lineup. Also had to mention this one. So we've known for a little time now that Snipe Down, Shubi, and Dropped were committing to each other, right? I talked about this yesterday. We talked about how they were all playing ranked with each other yesterday and weren't playing in scrims. And we talked about how they played with each other in scrims the day before. And people are prematurely roster locking because of the esports World Cup qualifiers where their rosters just locked. And so people want to play with that same squad. They're probably going to lock a little bit premature so that they can play with the same team, right? Well, so OpTic Gaming has officially changed their name to SKD Mark. Now, obviously, getting 19th place is not what you want to see out of this roster, and hopefully these guys can figure it out. I do think that they've got some good recipe up there. I think that Snipe Down is trying to work his way back in to where he feel like he belongs. And of course, I want to see Snipe Down get there. But I think Snipe Down has unfortunately had a lot of time out that it may find, it may take him some time to wiggle his way back in and get in his groove. So hopefully these guys as a team can find a way to click together. We know that they are all individually talented, and hopefully that comes out well. Also wanted to mention, yup, once again, now this is one team and roster that you had Snipe Down playing with at the beginning of all of this. This was Denial, this was Acivian, and it was sniped down at one point, but now it's duplex, and we've seen this for back-to-back days at this point. Interested to see where this roster goes and if they are locking in with one another as well. Also, we did get the announcement yesterday. The official rules have been updated. So Tab came out to say the rules update in May. We have removed, listen to this. Now, we did hear this rumor. We actually already talked about this rumor yesterday. It looks like the rumors were true. Bonus points and advanced starting points are now out of the question when it comes to ALGS. And now the new update would be the Appendix F and G in the POI draft and the EA Positive Player Award. So basically, in going into match point finals and such, you're no longer going to have those premature existing points that give you that boost, right? So if you're coming out of the winner's bracket, you should be rewarded like a normal traditional a bracket that you would have in CSGO, Valorant, those normal games where it's team to team, right? When you have Battle Royale, you're trying to figure out how the bracket should work. We've always done a bracket, I guess, advantage for the winner's side of things, and that was the advanced starting points that you had. And I like that idea. For what at the time we had, it made sense. But now that we're going into a POI draft, it makes sense to now gift instead of points, because obviously points can be a big deal, man. We're not just talking about an advantage. We're talking about starting with a a lead. That's like 4 advantages, honestly. It's just a little too much. I think we all can agree to that. It's one thing, if you get an extra good guy on your team, right, have advantages, but you still all start from 0, right? But it's another thing when you're literally gifting points to the other team coming out of that. Now, like I said, it was the best thing we had for at the time. We didn't really know a way around it. Now that we have the new POI draft system, it makes sense to, instead of giving points to them, allow them to get the best pick. So I love this idea. I think it's fair. It's the same way that you would see in like a college football or no, maybe even NFL or whatever the case may be. It may be a home field advantage. It may be, like the same thing, home field advantage, right? In baseball, you're going to have the same score. You're starting off the same way, but the home field advantage just allows you to get that one last chance to win the game before the other team just walks off with the dub. So I like the idea. It is an advantage, but it's not a game-breaking advantage. So big ups to the ALGS for doing this one. I know it's controversial and a lot of the players weren't all for it, but I do think it's going to be fun for spectators. Also had to mention some updates here. I really like this. Vice, of course, a former Alliance teammate here. Obviously, they made the roster change a while back. And speaking of roster changes, we've got to make mention of what's going on with this Dark Zero roster as well. But Vice had posted, it's official. Contract has been signed. Obviously, I'm expecting this to be an organization that is now coming in with the Esports World Cup. 9 Lives also said that they were getting, it seems like they're getting back. Hey, Apex, we missed you. And of course, they said that they were coming back as well. They said it was not a goodbye, but it was more of a see you later. Now, I've also been getting, look at this in my notification. Someone has been making a lot of great points. If you take a look at Team Falcons over on Twitter, someone's already made an Imperial How Team Falcons logo, or just a Team Falcons banner here. And I think it's likely. Saudi Arabia obviously has been putting a lot of money into the scene. Saudi Arabia in general have been putting a lot of money into nearly everything, right? Even the Cristiano Ronaldo gig that they were doing. These guys have a lot of money to throw at this, and it seems like they are definitely trying to indulge in as much as they can. So who knows? Maybe it'll actually become of something, but obviously stay tuned here. Also had to make mention a lot of meta changes going into this. So it's not just a POI draft that you have to look out for. Some teams are also running new metas, and Alter is a brand new legend that is changing the game quite a bit. I mean, Tech, honestly, probably one of the biggest guys to come up with new metas or, just kind of get onto things early. And he's always probably been one of the best scouts in the game for getting good players on his team and then having those players get poached. But Ultra Meta is going to be very, very interesting. It's a lot more random. There's things that the other team just can't predict. Like, you just don't know sometimes that a team just going to ape you and full send you out of nowhere, and there's no door to break. There's nothing to prepare. It just comes out of a wall that you can't really tell or just be aware of. So I like this. It's different. It's going to change the game if players are able to use it right. And you can see that Tech is definitely giving this a try. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to make ALGS a lot more interesting to watch, I think, because this is going to be some really big time plays that you see. And when people need to go that extra mile to take a championship, it's not going to come by playing it safe. It's going to come up from a ballsy move like this. So also think it's worth mentioning that coexisting inside of a building is not going to be as easy anymore. I mean, when you're underground, when you're under a team, it's so easy to just pop that portal through the bottom and you can take it upwards. And so many people, I think, are going to catch on to this, and it's going to be very, very difficult to counter here. Also, just as we wrap things up, want to let you guys know that you also had this recap. Now, I love following this guy. Still don't know how to pronounce his name. Is it Keanu J? I really hope so, but this guy's been around the block for quite some time. The synopsis of everything, just in case you don't want to go watch all my old videos, here's a very good synopsis that we've learned from Scrims this week. How on Dark Zero is so good. The new POI drafting shouldn't affect them too much, but I do agree with Dia. Is this team really that much better? Are they actually that good? Are they actually a super team, or are they just going to be one of the best teams, just like TSM was one of the best teams, just like Dark Zero was already one of the best teams? Or are they really going to change history? Are they actually going to win everything? I don't know. Design is too crackhead to IGL reps and Verholes. It would take too much time to adjust, and I'm glad he's staying with DSG. Super Team SSG is a scary team, to say the least. I think, you know, these guys have a lot of good options here, and I don't think anyone can take them in a 3v3. Honestly, I agree. These guys are really, really nasty. And even from the first day of Scrims that we had Dark Zero, this was before the POI stuff, SSG was in first by a long shot. I mean, I think about like 30 some points, like 128 or so points that they put up. They're insane. Now, of course, we saw some bad days from them, so don't take it to the bank quite yet, but I think it's interesting to say the least. Drop, Snipe, and Shubi have potential. They just got to put in the work to adapt to each other in a very little amount of time. Very excited to see what this roster does, and I'm rooting for them as well. Then Vanity, which was ex-DIG, have been dominating in Scrims this week, except for today, and glad they realized Stunny wasn't the problem. I love Stunny and hope the best for this guy, and I'm glad to see him back in business. And honestly, I think the POI draft is going to boost a lot of these people up, because you may have some one-trick ponies who are being, very solid inside of what they've always known. And with the POI draft, it's going to put consistency in front of everything. And so can't wait to see where this one goes. Exet also with Reptar have been top 10 every scrim, doing well, and happy for those. But just so you know, Exet was really, really good in the preseason scrims, and obviously things didn't go well for them in the end. So hopefully these guys can find their groove as well. For TSM, we love Reps as IGL. Hopefully they find their flow with a new third. Maybe it's Zaptoh, and obviously they are trialing Zaptoh that you've already seen earlier in the update of this video. So very interested to see where it goes. I love Reps. I love TSM. I hate to see them not doing very good, but I guess they're doing good enough to where they could probably continue to get better. And I think a lot of people are going to root for those guys, to be honest with you. Excited to see next week's scrims, and honestly the qualifiers next week as well. Apparently there's a lot of teams forgetting to check in for the qualifier, and that's been a big problem. So hopefully we don't have that issue. But let me know what you guys are thinking down in the comment section below, and let me know who you think is going to win in ALGS Split 2. And until the next time, we'll see you all later, Gators.